I just pulled my okra up out of this bed. I have 3 rows of okra right here. And in between the rows of okra, I've already sown my carrots and radish seed. So I've got little tiny baby carrots coming up and radishes in those rows. And where my okra was, I just pulled the hay back a little bit, dug a trench. I'm gonna go get some compost, some of my chicken compost, and put down this trench, and I'm gonna put onions here. And you can see right here, I've got some baby carrots coming up and some baby radish coming up. So I've already sown my carrots and radishes a few weeks ago, and they're coming up. And then on this row here, this is where the okra was. I just pulled the hay back a little bit, dug me a little trench. I'm gonna go get my chicken compost, put a little layer of it down, and then I'm gonna sow onions here. Wow, look at that stuff. Good stuff. So in this bed will be carrots, radishes, onions, lettuce, and some spinach. And those are great companions to plant together. First of all, the roots don't compete. So your carrots have long tap roots, your onions have rounded roots, your lettuce and spinach is like surface roots, and your radishes are little roots. So they all have a different root system, so they won't compete with each other. So that's a great way to be able to plant a diversity of quite a few different things and be able to plant them together tightly without taking up a lot of space. So that's just a way to be able to grow a lot more vegetables in a smaller space together, and they'll all benefit each other. So the onions are great deterrents. The odor that the onion puts out is a great repellent for pests. First of all, rabbits don't like onions, so if you have a rabbit problem in your garden, rabbits love carrots and lettuce, and you plant onions with your carrots and lettuce, that will help repel the rabbits. They don't like the onion odor, they don't eat onions, so that could help repel the rabbits from getting your carrots and lettuce. They also help repel a lot of pests. They help repel carrot flies, and a lot of different pests. They're just a good pest repellent because of the odor that they put out. I'm gonna plant 2 different kinds of onion. I've got yellow onions and red onions. I plant my little onion sets about 2 to 3 inches apart and about 3 to 4 inches deep. And you plant with this little tip sticking up. And this is the roots, so that goes down near the soil. And then I just come back and cover these up with the soil to about 3 to 4 inches depth. Look here. Look who's in the garden. You definitely want these in your garden. Going to work for me. That's awesome. Onions are not only great companions with carrots and radish and lettuces, but they're also great companions with broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbages, kales, cauliflowers, and tomatoes. They're not good companions with asparagus, peas, and beans though. So I have the onions planted with carrots, lettuce, radishes in my second bed. And in my fourth bed here is where I have my broccoli, Brussels, cauliflower, and I'm gonna add onions to this bed. And in my sixth bed, I've planted onions with my cabbages and my kale. By planting the onions with the cabbages, the Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and cauliflower, that helps repel the cabbage loopers and the cabbage worms. Chase is pulling the okra up for me. We probably could leave it a little bit longer. It's still making a few little babies, but not that many. So not really enough to hang on to it. Ready to get this bed cleaned up and get my garlic in here. I'm doing 3 full rows of garlic cloves, because what's going to happen is right behind each row of garlic next year will be my rows of tomatoes. Tomatoes and garlic are great companions. So I like to always plant garlic and basil with my tomatoes. So on these rows, they're wide enough that I've got space for my garlic, I've got space for my basil and marigolds, and I've got space for my tomatoes. So my garlic is actually going to the front edge of each row. So I've made my trenches here, and I'm gonna be putting my garlic down in the trench. And remember, I've already put compost in here. So by the time I get my soil over my clove, it's gonna end up being planted about 4 inches deep. Now this garlic head will get about 2 inches wide. So I wanna plant them right around 4 inches apart as well. So it's about 2 to 4 inches deep and about 4 inches apart is how I like to space mine. This is where your roots are going to develop. The tip is where your stem's going to come up. So you want to plant this part down, this part up. And I just go through here and put all my little garlic cloves about 4 inches apart like this. And then I'll come back and cover them over with the soil. Now garlic is probably my favorite companion plant because it is just a good companion with almost every plant. The only things that's not compatible with garlic is peas, beans, and asparagus, just like your onions. The main ingredient in garlic is allicin, which gives it that real pungent and strong odor. And that odor is not only what makes it so high in its medicinal properties, but it also makes it a great pest repellent. It's a pest and a fungal repellent. The sulfur that's in the bulb helps to repel different types of soil-borne fungus. There's a whole list of pests that it helps repel. It helps repel cabbage loopers and worms, aphids, ants, Japanese beetles, codlin moths, fungus gnats, spider mites, potato beetles. Goodness, there's a long list of different pests that it helps deter, so that makes great companions for those plants that those pests naturally attack, like your cabbages and broccoli and Brussels. The cabbage loopers and worms love to attack those. So it's great to plant the garlic with those, as well as onions. Like your fruit trees, codlin moth is one that attacks fruit trees a lot. So I like to take the garlic and plant rings of garlic around my fruit trees. Roses, it's great to plant garlic with your roses because it helps to repel aphids. Tomatoes love garlic because the garlic helps to repel Japanese beetles. Garlic is a great companion to plant with potatoes because it helps repel the potato beetle. We practice crop rotation here in the potager garden, and I have a garden plan that really is a plan for the next 10 years for rotating our crops. So I know what's going to be planted in the different beds next spring, summer, and fall already, because I sat down and did my plan last winter. I know that my tomatoes are going to be planted in bed 5 next year. So right now this fall, I'm planting my garlic so that they can be companions together next year. My potatoes are going to be in bed 8 and 9 next year. And right now, I've had cover crops on those. I've had sun hemp growing all summer on those. We've just chopped all that down. We're about to put cardboard and grass clippings and hay on top of that and let that set all winter long and suffocate out the weeds that was so bad in there. Now, if those beds were ready to plant right now, then I would go ahead and put some garlic in those beds as well. And then in February, when I'm planting my potatoes, the potatoes and garlic could be companions with each other because the garlic will deter the potato beetle. So really the only plants that garlic is not compatible with would be peas, beans, and asparagus. So I have to keep that in mind too as to where my peas and beans are going to be next year. And I don't want to plant garlic in those beds. And really that's it. Other than that, the garlic is a great companion for most all other plants. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. God bless y'all, and I'll catch you on the next video.